I was partying. Sorry, guys. What's up, Inject Studios Nation? We are fired up. The four horsemen are here, ready to bring you and indoctrinate you in what we have and what we've got cooking with Windex Studios. My name is 𝙁𝙚𝙬𝙧. I'm joined by the lovely Chris Ross, Justin Shank, and the amazing Brian Bogert. Today, we want to do a little intro on what the heck we are doing, the why behind Winject, and exactly what our goals and game plan is right now for what we're trying to build out with this amazing podcast community. And that's where everything is being laid out. A lot of people are joining us, and they're just joining us because how excited we are. Like, we got this thing, and it's really awesome, and you got to do it. And Chris Ross can be very persuasive. Like, yeah.
It happens.
And so I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do this. So a lot of people are joining us, and they go, okay, what exactly did I just join? What's happening here? They feel the energy. They feel the excitement. They feel the need for community. They feel the desire to collaborate and connect with other podcasters. And I can tell you that once I started networking and collaborating and connecting with other podcasters in the community, that's when my podcasting game leveled up. So we're going to focus on creating some clarity with this Winject Studios product, the programs, all the things that we're going to be pushing out through the network. So Brian Bogert, are you ready to drop a little intro on?
Yeah, let's do it.
On what's happening? What's going on with Winject Studios?
I don't even know what to do with my hands. I'm so excited.
I don't even know. All right. Well, what I was actually trying to do was actually get everybody tagged on here so that everybody on LinkedIn can see what we're doing. So I'll come back to that in a second. But those of you that are already involved know this already. Those of you who don't need to hear this for the first time, because what we're creating is something that doesn't exist to our knowledge today. Right? There's a lot of networks out there. There's a lot of collaboration groups. There's masterminds. There's all these things that exist for podcasters, but there is not a podcaster community to our knowledge. And the reality of it is podcasters have some of the most meaningful content on the planet. They ask great questions. They bring on great guests. They focus on messages that the world needs to hear. But we also know that, I'm going to butcher the stat, but Justin or Adam, please correct me, 98% of podcasts never get over 100 downloads or 5 shows. Most of them just dissolve into nothing, because if you don't get an audience, if you don't get traction, you can't make the impact that you want. We also know there's a lot of podcasters that have mission and
He's doing his hot dog impression, I think. Is he doing it? It's like, should we all freeze at once? Like,
do the Bogert.
Yeah.
Do the Bogert. Do the Bogert.
Freeze. It's like putting words in his mouth. But yeah, just to kind of go, I think he's going to be going here in a minute. He'll get back with us. I'm not sure. Maybe he's streaming on a couple of different platforms. But just to kind of give everyone a little bit more context behind, what we're trying to do first. When we're trying to understanding podcasting networks or TV, broadcasting, media, doesn't really matter. What we need to do, and in order for anyone to be successful in any industry, you have to build a community of raving fans that everyone feels like they are connected and they do have input. So every single person that you see right now that has a very specific zone of genius that's going to bring to this network community and what we're all about. It's one heartbeat, one mission, one outcome. That's always been my philosophy when it comes to business, comes to human interaction, collaboration. Doesn't matter. What we're here to do is we're here to make an impact. How are we going to make an everlasting impact with podcasters? That's done through effort. There's 2 things that require, I guess you can't buy at a store. You can't buy this shit at Walmart. You can't buy effort, and you can't buy an attitude. Through you putting in the extra effort into something, and that's what a lot of podcasters are doing right now. They're putting a lot of effort into something and not seeing an instant gratification or instant return on investment of putting in that time. As we all know, time is the only non-renewable resource in life. So when you're putting that much effort and time into something and you're only seeing a trickle effect of downloads and maybe some feedback from your audience, you get to a situation where you go, is this really going to serve me? And of course, I feel like right now, guys, that podcasting is what everybody wants to do because it's a growing industry, then especially with the network and what's actually possible. But if you don't have a I guess you would say, something that you're trying to like a real structured, detailed message and what you're trying to bring to your marketplace or bring to your audience. And it doesn't align with the overall outcome of what you do for a living. That's a huge disconnect, in my opinion. And that's what we're all collectively here to do and serve our community and serving the podcast community and making sure that we have certain things in place and there's structure there. And there's a lot of areas of opportunity for you to feel like, okay, I'm not in this by myself. And when I started the Win-Win Effect, I was like, okay, my mom will listen, my dad will listen. That's about it. And it was difficult. I get on a microphone and it's like, that's why, the first I had a co-host come on, Wes Bays, for everyone knows who Wes Bays is. He came on and he was there to flesh out the information to be able to share what I wanted to talk about. Why that methodology works so well in the education space and sales. Because when I say the word sales, people go, oh shit, what the hell does that mean? Oh no, because it goes off their past experience or whatever that might be when it pertains to sales. But the win-win effect is all about everyone winning. You have to adopt that winning mentality and an abundance lifestyle, making that shift. So I kind of kicked in. So when this kind of idea popped in my head, bing, I was like, well, how do I go about making this happen? So luckily for myself, I was introduced to Mr. Justin Shank. He's one of the top podcasters in the last 5 years. That was a big thing for me. I had him come on the show, came from Bogart. I had a phenomenal conversation, talked to Adam, and I was like, all right, now all the pieces of the puzzle all together, I think we can make this happen. Without myself, not going to happen. Without Shank, it's not going to happen. Without Bogart, it's not going to happen. Without Adam, it's not going to happen. And without you, our podcasters, debatable, right, Adam? without the podcasters in the community, it's not going to happen. We can't get to the end result of making that everlasting change when you're looking at your own business model, and especially with the back end programs. And I'll kind of kick this over to you, Justin, especially with you being in the industry. And I'm not trying to make you, I guess you would say, a dinosaur in this industry.
The grandpa.
Right. Yeah. No, but seriously, you're like Inc. magazine. You're all over the place and interviewing some major guests. You can look at all the pictures behind them and that little light bulb. It looks like a little light bulb over there. That's my head shining off. But for the most part, when we kind of come to, that first couple of meetings and we're trying to figure out how to map this out and building a community first, and then that's the engine that's going to drive this sucker. What are some things that jumped out to you? Maybe some ideas on what we're trying to do for this community?
Yeah. I am the grandpa of the group when it comes to podcasting, but from an age standpoint, I'm not. So I'm just pointing that. I just want to throw that out there. But with that being said, I've been podcasting for 5 years and I learned the long, hard way of what to do, what not to do. And then now I've gone on to help countless podcasters, grow their show, monetize their show and all that stuff. And one thing that we really all agree on when we started our podcast was we wanted to make an impact in the world. Mm-hmm. We wanted to take our voices, our messages, and the people that we interview, their messages to the next level so people can understand that we can create the life that we truly desire. And I think the underlying tone of all of our shows is that. It might be about fitness. It might be about, business. It might be about just feeling better about ourselves, some self-love, self-worth, or something like that. But it all has that underlying tone. And one thing you said, Chris, early on, which when you said this, I was like, yes, that's it. Look, all we want to do is amplify your message. But most podcasters, unfortunately, are talking to a microphone that's not plugged in. Mm-hmm. And we just want to plug it in for those individuals so more people can see them, can hear their message, can then go and subscribe to whatever they're doing. And we're literally amplifying this whole entire message of we can live the life that we truly desire. So when I look at the people that we're bringing into the network, they're people that are purpose-driven, people that are looking to improve not only their life, but others' lives around them. And I'm just excited to plug them in, to teach them tactics, tricks, tips, all the things in between to get them the guests that they want, to teach them how to interview a little bit better, to turn up their volume louder, because every single person has a voice and every single person needs to hear that. And that's why I'm excited. And Adam's somebody who I connected with early on in the podcast game and early on in his podcast game as well. And we've been able to do a couple cool things together. And this is just on a whole new level because you plug into a guy like Chris and Brian, and you say, cool, let's take our ideas and make them truly work for each other. And that's where we're at. And Adam, I think, is kind of on the same page.
Yeah. And just as a cool example for everybody watching, I know that there are a lot of podcasters that are stuck in what I call that podcrastination zone, where like you either are thinking about launching a show, Brian Bogert, or you are, you're getting call them out. You or maybe you've launched, but now you're kind of stuck in that. I think I might put a course out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm 17 episodes deep. My mom is listening. That's about it. And so when I met
a flashback of that movie Wedding Crashers, and he's like, should I lean in for the kiss? Should I not lean in for the kiss? Am I eating too much? Am I talking too much? Do I have food on my face? Am I interested? Do I seem like I'm interested? That's what he said.
Yes. All of those things.
I don't know why my mind goes there. I don't know why.
Simultaneously, Mom, meatloaf. Right? If your mom's the only one listening and you're screaming for meatloaf, we need to get you a bigger audience.
I have a funny story real quick before we kind of move on, just to kind of say it. So if my mom's watching this, when that movie came out, I was sitting there with my sister in the living room, and I think I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I came back home, and it was, I don't know, a weekend. And I kept saying, Mom, the meatloaf. And then she called me like on a Sunday before I left. And she's like, I made you meatloaf. Like it was, I was like, well, I mean, that kind of worked out. So Mom, if you're watching this, love you. Thank you for the meatloaf. And even though it was a joke, and it still works out.
So we digress, but clearly community is about having fun as well. So we're going to be doing that, and we want everybody to participate with us. So Adam, keep rolling, brother.
Yeah. So Justin and I met, like, I'm 50 episodes deep. So I'm 1 year deep on my show. Virtually no one is listening. I'm very frustrated because I know in my heart that my message needs to be heard. Like, I had just gone through a huge weight loss journey. I had lost over 100 pounds. I helped my hometown lose 35,000 pounds. And I'm telling these stories and giving these tips, and 0 people are listening after a year of being committed, doing all the things that podcasters are supposed to do. Then I'm standing in line at an event in Ohio, and I hear this little short guy yammering on about podcasting. And honestly, God, I had never, ever met another podcaster in real life before. Like, I was just in my basement, just doing my thing. And I hear Justin talking about, and I grab him. I'm like, are you a podcaster? He goes, yeah. I go, you need to help me. He's like, okay, I can help you. And then he like goes on, he's like flirting with some girls or something, getting his game on. And then after the event, like there's this flood of people.
He's a pod star.
There are these flood of people leaving the arena, the event area, and I'm running around like a crazy person trying to find Justin again. And I finally find him, like, Justin, I'm gonna call you, man. And he just helped me figure out a few things. Like, I was trying to row across the pond in a leaky boat, and he helped me fill in those holes so that I could travel more effectively. And within 2 months, I'm getting ranked in Apple Top 200, and I'm getting booked on other shows, and my downloads double, triple, quadruple, 10x, and away we go. And, I was ready to quit at 50 episodes deep. And because I got plugged in to somebody that can mentor me, somebody that could connect me to a community that allowed me to collaborate and create a collective impact, I'm 500 plus episodes deep. I've got 3 shows. I've got sponsors. I'm selling things. I'm a full-time podcaster. And none of that would have happened if I'd never plugged in to a community of podcasters via what the people that Justin introduced me to. So
you also just said something really profound, though, because I think this is true in life, right? So often we can be slamming our heads against the wall. We can be doing something that we believe in, that we know, we like, we trust, aligns with something that we want to do in terms of impact, but we might be missing something, and it might not be something major, right? Like, just those little tweaks that Justin came in and did for you allowed you to swim, like move faster with less effort, like literally almost move through the water with less effort. As you're in this leaky boat, you're able to escape it. And so that's part of what we want to do as well is, we're going to be providing a whole lot of resources through this to help people. But just by bringing podcasters together, you're going to be helping each other. You're going to be doing this in a profound way, stuff we might not have experienced, stuff we might not have known. So the reason we're calling it a community is because we are going to build the community together. We're the ones who are starting it. We're the ones who are initiating it. But all the people who are already a part of it, the podcasters who are already a part of it, and those that are going to join are going to really make this into the thriving community that's going to focus on collective impact. And we're all going to learn, grow, and have impact together. And as Chris says, right, we're going to win together. We're all going to be doing this in a level that we're going to all amplify each other's messages.
And it takes everyone to work together as one to be able to accomplish that overall task. So say for I'm most people know this, and of those who don't know me, that I'm prior military, and you don't leave anybody behind. And that's I've taken those core values that I learned years, it feels like a lifetime ago in the military, and I've taken it and I implemented that into my life and also in the infrastructure and all the companies I've ever been in contact with. That's where it all comes from. You have to be able to be aligned within your core values and figuring out what's important in my life, what's important, the message, or how do I realign everything? And that's where all the hard work comes in. And Bogart talks about this a lot, even when he came on the Win-Win Effect, is leaning into those adversity moments.
Mm-hmm.
You have to lean in. So sometimes when you're leaning in and you're standing too close to the fire, you don't know where it started and you don't know how to put it out. It's like, what the hell's going on? You got to step away from it for a second and have more of a bird's eye view. And having more of a bird's eye view and not even knowing certain things are there, then that's where growth is at. But you have to be willing to lean into that adversity. And on the other side of it, that's where your gift is at.
Yeah.
So you might have a beautiful message, but if you're not plugged into the right source, no one's going to hear you.
Yeah, it's so true. And we onboarded the first 50 podcasters already, and there's already swaps happening, and there's just an incredible collection of individuals, men, women, and everything else in between. And the one thing I want to point out is people see this on Facebook or they're listening somewhere, whatever the case may be, they hear four men talking. But the important thing is today, which is January 20th, 2021, was the first day we've ever had a female vice president here in the United States. And something we want to do, especially in the podcast world that is at this point dominated by men, we want to help amplify the women as well. We want to amplify people of color, of any gender, of any type of, wherever they want to come from in the world. We want to help amplify them as well. And so understand that there's open arms. There's already powerhouse women inside of this community that are there for you, to support you, to pick you up. And I think that needs to be highlighted as well, because it doesn't matter who you are. We can turn you up. We can turn your volume up. And that's what I'm excited about, is that collective impact that we're going to have together.
Yeah, I'm so happy you said that, because I think the inclusive structure that we're building, which was very intentional based on all of our own belief systems and life paths, and we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get in here. Really the one rule is that you've got a mission and impact driven type theme to your show, right? But outside of that, we even set up community guidelines as it relates to engagement and the way that we're going to tolerate. We're never going to censor anybody's messages, but we also aren't going to tolerate hate and separation and certain things that just are not going to help have impact in a positive way on the planet. We could focus on collective impact, but if we aren't focused on the right kind of impact, it's not going to matter. We want to amplify voices to put a lot of good into the world, help people grow, learn, develop together, tap into the collective wisdom of the body of work that these people are putting together. That's what we all have the ability to do, and that's what we're excited about.
You touched on one thing, Justin, and I want to make sure that I'm shining a light on it. Yeah, today's the first day we always have the first woman vice president, which, and most of you know, and I don't know, maybe in the community or maybe through, if I've been on your shows or if you watch certain videos of me, I do have a young daughter. She's 1 year old, and that was a big thing. Her family, and obviously I was in an interracial relationship, and she comes from South Asia type of world. So that was a big thing for myself to watch. And even in the last year of putting in a lot of personal work, I was able to do what I do for a living using my own skills and honing in on that craft of, developing a lot of emotional intelligence and reading people and what they're not telling me and me understanding it. And it's definitely helped me with becoming a podcaster. I never would have thought in my wildest dream I would actually be a part of a podcast community, and let alone like me getting the message out there to all the beautiful people that actually tune in each week, like Raven fans. It blows me away. But that comes from the emotional intelligence piece. So me putting in that work, I was able to learn a lot of, I guess, cultivation of silence, cultivation of self-discovery, to discover more things about myself, where I was able to fine-tune my approach and be able not just to do it in my business life, what I do for a living, but also merging that over and putting everything together, all those pieces where I don't know the difference between work and play anymore. And during that discovery, and I'll get to the point here, but during that discovery, I realized that people, especially women, and I think this is the decade for women entrepreneurship. This is the decade they take over. They're already blowing it up. This is the decade take over, just because I have a very strong conviction on emotional intelligence is the way of the future, because people don't want a product or service or good jammed down their throat. They don't want to feel that way. the best way of going about doing something is you're asking a lot of framework and questions and diagnostic questions that lead you to the core and the root of the actual problem to give them, to diagnose, then also give them a prescription of what they actually need, not what they're wanting or desiring, what they're going to need. And it takes someone, and it takes, especially with those female groups and entrepreneurs. And that's why I think it's an essential part of us going to the next levels in this type of community and with the networks, and having more female entrepreneurs or more female podcasters that are really going to take over. And I'll step back and be like, I told you so. I told you so. Because you think about just for a second on how hard it is just for a woman to have a lot of, I guess you would say, confidence and standing out there on her own, whereas a men-dominated podcasting world and industry, and having something beautiful to say, and they're going to get bashed down because they feel like, okay, you're a woman, I can push over you. Like, substance is the key here.
Yeah.
The one that have substance is going to stand out.
And that's the thing. We're not going to tolerate any of that kind of behavior within our community. In fact, we're going to make sure that we highlight all of those folks that deserve to have a message plugged in, which is really anybody, right? Mm-hmm. And if they're going to come in and collaborate and have impact, that's what we're going to highlight. In fact, Adam, you've been doing a lot of the onboarding in this last week with our first 50 shows. And so if you wouldn't mind taking a minute, and I want to be very clear for the people who've already joined the community, we're not going to have time to highlight everybody today. But Adam, I'd like you to highlight maybe 3 individuals, podcasters, shows that maybe weren't on your radar before.
We got one right there.
Our community. Oh yeah, Jerome. I mean, Jerome's
in the house.
Yeah.
I just figured out how to do that. I just figured out how to do that. That was pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, Chris gets like geeked out on little shifts.
I don't know.
You'll probably see he's gonna shift us back and forth in the corners, and like you're gonna be all like cross-eyed by the end of this thing. But yeah, Adam, if you wouldn't mind just highlighting like 3 shows, 3 people that maybe you weren't in your ecosystem before that we know are already going to have an impact and we're going to be able to blow up.
Well, I've been doing these like crazy, and I kind of put a goal out there to you guys, and you're all like, bro, this is stupid. You shouldn't be doing it like this. And I was like, I want to get eyeball to eyeball with all of them. Like, and I've just been going back to back to back, Zoom sessions. And like that, eyeball to eyeball. So I've been doing 15-minute onboarding sessions one-on-one with as many people as will have me. And it's been a lot of fun because I feel like I'm a big relationship guy. I'm not like one of those guys that has these super secret automated funnel things that happen. I don't even know how to make that sort of magic work, but I like to get connected to somebody and go, all right, what can I do for you? What's confusing? How can I make this more clear? And I'm really trying to express to everybody that's joining our community that like you are going to help us build what you need the most. Mm-hmm. And I'm meeting people like Jerome I met today, and I'm like, dude, you got to come on my show. Like I love, everybody's been pumping me up about meeting Jay. I'm like, oh, I finally get to connect with them. And like people like Shannon. What's Shannon's last name that I texted you guys?
Connery.
Yes.
She's so amazing. Oh my God.
Amazing. I'm like, your show is going to explode. We just, like Justin said, we got to turn up the volume. Another great example is somebody that I referred into the network, Catherine Ely from Imperfect Thriving. Wow, she has an amazing message. She has this whole overcoming your own perfectionist mindset. And everybody I introduced her to was like, this is a great interview. Like she's awesome at this. But she's trying to figure out the business aspect. So like one of the things that people are wanting to know is like, what do you guys have cooking for ideas on how you're going to help people? And one of the ideas that I'm most excited about is doing lives like this. And we pull people from the community up and go, okay, where's the clog? Like, where is the thing that's keeping you? Where's the obstruction in the business flow or whatever? And Catherine's like, I can't wait to, connect with Chris Ross and Brian and Justin and figure out how I should be at monetizing my show, how I can create a program, a product, a service. And I'm like, oh, just wait. Like, we're going to create so many great case studies and just help blow up people's brands and help them create and monetize, their message, which is amazing. And I want to kind of go around the horn with you guys. And so I know we all have ideas on how we're going to use our different skill sets and how we're going to utilize those to shine a light on the community members, to help educate them. I know we're planning out like little mini courses and things that, Q&As, all that. But Justin, why don't you run with this a little bit and just give people a little preview of what we're thinking about doing as far as some ideas with the community.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started today, right? We started to record just mini videos. Chris's was 15 minutes long, but we started recording. Yeah. We started recording mini videos. Teaching people just the little tweaks. Like, right, we talked about Adam going, "Hey, I just had a couple holes in my boat that needed to be plugged." It wasn't about completely changing everything other than his brand. That's a different conversation. But like little. Sorry, like this is my jab. This is my jab section.
You knew it was coming eventually. You knew it was coming.
But what I'm saying is, we started recording these small videos to teach people how to start plugging those holes on their own, right? Like I think a lot of times people wait because they're like, "Hey, I'm just going to keep trying. I'm just going to keep showing up," which is also part of the game. But they also think magically something's going to change. But if we can really change them 1 degree, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, and point them in the right direction, plug those holes, everything's going to blow up for them. And I know it because they're truly mission driven, right? If you're purpose driven, if you're really on that path, things are going to hit as long as you're headed in the right direction. And I'm really excited to kind of see where that goes. I'm also excited to work with these individuals on formulating their story, right? Like I think a lot of times as podcast hosts, and I was stuck in this zone for quite some time, I was a great host, had no idea how to be a guest, had no idea how to tell my story and use my story from an impact standpoint. And I wasn't sharing it on my own podcast, let alone other people's podcasts. And I'm going to kick it up to Brian because this is really what he's mastered. I mean, this guy's been in over 150 podcasts in less than a year. By the way, if you know what that takes, that's insane. And he's really the master of getting onto these shows and making an impact. And then on the plus side, growing his business. So Brian, I mean, I know that's kind of going to be your area of expertise.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of the few areas that I know I'm going to be able to jump in and add significant value. I have to challenge one thing though, because to your point on highlighting how difficult that would be, it's been 150 shows in 6 months, just for the record. I wish it was spread out over a year, but it's been condensed. So, and I'm just really, really blessed, right, to have been able to be aligned and introduced to a whole lot of amazing individuals. I mean, the three of you, I was on all three of your shows before we got you all connected, right? And then it's now the four of us that are moving forward together. And so one of the things I'm going to really be able to do is, look, I've been a speaker for a long time, but changing to the podcasting platform is a completely different deal. Both of them require you to be aware of the lessons you can extract from your stories and then becoming intentional with how do you apply them in your lives and how do you communicate those externally. Both of them require that skill. But when I first got onto podcasts, truthfully, I kind of floundered because I tried to fit my long form talk structure into a podcast format when it just didn't really work as well. It worked.
This dude is look at this is all make that face. I don't know what's going on with his. Are you trying to stream? Are you trying to do like a Gary Vee thing and you have like 50,000 platforms going at once?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm streaming in your room as well. I can't tell. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. No, truthfully, for everybody who's watching, the main line to the internet in my house has been down for like almost a week, and in this current world, you can imagine how challenging that can be. So I apologize for the intermittent like freezing. Am I still streaming now, everybody? Am I streaming?
Yeah, you're here. Okay. You're with us.
All right. So that's one of the things we're gonna be able to do is how do we not only tell your story in general, but how do we tell your story in sound bites? So that if the audience is only listening for 3 to 5 minutes, they're getting value no matter what. And that's my goal often on every single show I go into is focusing on relationships, value, and impact. How do I build a relationship with the show host, understand their audience, build a relationship with their audience by understanding who they are, and then trying to provide value even in 3 to 5 minute sound bites so that we can have impact in their lives and impact for the show. And if you take this kind of general approach that I've done around podcasting, you could literally land only 10 shows. And if you work the system, it will literally organically create 150 opportunities for you. And the other thing is, how do you generate and transfer energy on a virtual platform? How do you communicate about those things? So we're going to break these things down for you, as well as some systems that we built after the fact to really be able to catapult and compound on all the activity we created organically. Now we have a system that we're actually using, which is producing massive results as well. So that's going to be one piece. But I think being a guest is one thing. Being a host is a whole nother, right? Justin, you understand this. Adam, you understand this because you both are phenomenal hosts. Chris, is also a phenomenal host. And he was one of the first shows I was on and asked questions that nobody else had asked me. And to this date, still haven't asked me. We jammed for almost 2 hours on our episode. I'm sure most people didn't want to listen beyond 30 minutes, but we tried to add value and impact in all those sound bites. But Chris, talk about like what you're going to be doing to help people dissect the way they actually navigate a guest.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, and that does mean a lot to me. That's something that I strive for, and I put a lot of effort into making sure that I'm asking the right questions to extract the information from the guests, because they might have showed up because of me and because of the show, but they stay because of the guests. I think I'm stealing that from Adam, but that's the whole thing, is that that's my moral obligation as me being a host of the Win-Win Effect or whatever show we start to build, is to get the information for the listener. And for them to eavesdrop on that conversation to hopefully make an impact in whatever area of their life. And sometimes if they're hearing me say certain things, it might be a different frequency and a different voice tonality and in a way that they go about saying things that makes that impact. It might change their life forever. And I understand that. But there's something else that I'm just to shine a light on what Bogert really does. For those, I'm going to use a football reference here, and I mean football. I know I'm in the UK, and you're kicking a ball around. No, like football, like American football. The best quarterbacks that I have ever seen, and Tom Brady is one of those, Drew Brees, and some of these guys, they let the game come to them. Bogert lets the questions come to him before he takes control of the conversation. And that's one thing that I have noticed, and I don't think I've ever given that compliment before.
Oh,
I noticed with Bogert is that he lets the host frame the questions for him that they ask him, and then he'll go from there and he'll do his own reframing. And sometimes, I don't know if you notice that you do this, you'll frame it in a different way that helps them out with their next set of questions.
Yep.
Thank you
for recognizing that.
You're welcome. But the reason why I'm able to know this is my zone of genius. I specialize in the framework and asking the diagnostic questions to get to the core and the root and the inner essence of who that person is. 9 times out of 10, and I've been in the sales industry for, it feels like 50 lifetimes, and I've probably heard every story known to man from every individual in all walks of life. But here's the thing about human behavior. There's only so many patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm able to identify patterns by the way that I'm asking questions, and I'm listening using my active listening skills and using and questioning their own narrative to get them, and paraphrasing. It's not Jedi mind tricks. It's all about how I'm able to make them feel on that phone call or on whatever, maybe in person. So that's something that I'm going to be bringing to the table, is shining a light on my approach and the effort that I put in when I'm researching my project or researching my guest to ensure that they're going to feel a certain way and go, damn, Chris put in a lot of effort, and he maybe has paid attention to some of the things in what I put out in the industry. I put so much effort into how I approach my, I guess, meetings or my interviews. I go and I put it on YouTube, or I put in whatever, and I start seeing or paying attention to some of the things that they do say, and the host talks over them and they don't let them finish. And that was a big shift for me in my career early on in sales. I didn't want to go about the way that I did business, the way that they did business. I wanted to be unique and special in my own way, and using my own God gifts, right? So that I was blessed with, that I'm going to put myself in their situation and I want to feel what they're feeling so I can really understand what I need to do and giving a proper recommendation. So when I started recording my phone calls, I made a huge impact. So what does podcasters do? They record their interviews, did it not? Yes, yes. So you guys are recording. How many of you go back and listen to your interviews? And I know what you're going to tell me. I don't like the way my voice sounds. I don't like mine either. I sound like I have something stuck on my nose. That makes me unique. I don't like the way that I sound. I'm not listening for me. I'm listening for them. Like, what did I miss? What did I miss? What are the next set of questions I should have asked? Maybe I should have used my emotional intelligence to maybe stroke their ego a little bit, to get them to open up a little bit, maybe create more of an environment for them to feel safe and not judged. And then I'm able to, I'm hit them with this question now. I was the guy walking around in a grocery store, no bullshit, with headphones on before the AirPods, right? And like the one with the strings, right? So walking around a grocery store and go, shit, damn, But guess what? I didn't miss that opportunity again. And these are just some of the things that I'm going to be putting in. And the first one was today for 15 minutes. And I was only I was asked to do 5 minutes, but I don't know how the hell that's possible.
Hey, there's no way they're watching this live show and not understanding that you can't keep.
Well, exactly, but that's what I can't help it. But that's one thing in life you can never fake is passion.
That's
and
right,
people
brother.
want me to hear what I'm saying. People feel what I'm saying because that's the effort that I'm trying to put into how I go about making that impact with someone, that I'm polarizing that energy through them, watching the impact and taking that energy and recycling back into, because I'm plugged into my energy source. Yeah. My energy source is serving people and making impact. Yeah. And that's what we're all about. Right.
One thing I want to add, as we have about 10 minutes before we all have to go, but one thing I want to add is when you plug your podcast in, going back to that reference originally from Chris, it changes your world. So when I finally got my podcast plugged in, because for a long time, like most people, I was running every single week and nobody was paying attention. But when I plugged in my podcast, everything changed. Literally, it built my business. It launched me as a speaker all over the country. It became a live event. It got me connected to these gentlemen, which we're now business partners. It has changed my life. I've become friends with people I could only ever see from a distance before. And so that's what I want to do. And that's really the heart for me. What I want to do for other podcasters is to have their platform change their life. What's that mean? Whether that changes who they surround themselves with, whether that changes how much money they're making, whether that changes how much better they become as a public speaker, whatever. I want it to change their life. And that's what I'm excited about. So if you're a podcaster watching this now or on replay, and you're not in this community yet, there is a free option. There will always be a free option for you. We're introducing tiers here in the future to help serve people on a deeper level, on different levels. But with that being said, go to winject.com and sign up because we want to help you plug in. We want to change your life.
Yeah. I think it's a really, really important piece that Justin just commented on, because the reason there is now and will always be a free option is just like what we got to in the very beginning before I cut out with my internet connection. And I'm sure these guys picked up just beautifully on. I was talking about community and then I was yanked out of it very quickly, abruptly. I'm sorry. We will not do that to you. But the reason there's always going to be a free option is that's what community is all about. We're not trying to have people come join this just to grow and scale and monetize and all these different things. We want to genuinely help people. So whether that's completely free and they're a part of just the collaboration and collective impact that takes place, whether there's options for us to teach people and elevate them and empower them to do things on their own, or whether we have an option to really be able to jump in and help do things for people, for those that don't want to touch it, but want to master the art of the game, that's what we're all about. And that's what I'm excited about is again, changing and impacting people's lives. Period. Whether that's you as the podcaster, whether that's you as a podcast guest, or your audiences. That's what this is all about.
Now, something that Chris mentioned earlier, I don't understand. I love listening to my voice, and that's.
Well, you have a butter voice. It's not even fair.
It's like he's got a face for radio.
I love listening to my voice, Chris Rock.
Everything's terrible. Butter voice.
Your voice. Your voice was made for podcasting.
Yes.
I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things as I do the onboarding sessions, though, and I haven't told you guys that this description I'm using, I go, okay, I've got 3 entrepreneurial thoroughbreds that I am partnered with here. And one of my jobs, like they're going to just explode with ideas. And they're like, Chris Ross wants to drive the vehicle at 10,000 miles an hour. And I'm like, one of my goals is to check in with people in the community and go, okay, over the next 7 days, here are the opportunities for you to plug into, because people are like, they're already afraid, like I'm going to miss out. There's so many ideas and things being kicked around. I said, I got you. That's one of my things that I'm going to do is take all the exciting things, put it in a nice little box and go, here are the things you need to be focusing on right now to make the most impact in your participation in this community. And so I'm doing like a regular Friday email blast going over the next 7 days. Here are your opportunities within Winject. Here are the things we have coming up. Here's the feedback we need from you. Is this working? Is this not working? So I'll be kind of the interpreter, so to speak, of all this entrepreneurial excitedness. And I'm going to make sure that you guys aren't missing out on a thing. So whether you enjoy plugging in on Slack or watching things like this on YouTube or Facebook, or you want to pop on and do a live cast with us, or you want to listen to Winject Radio podcast and get the information that way, I'll be I'll be all over the place, boots on the ground, ready to connect with you all and make sure that you feel that you're well taken care of, that you're part of this family. That's super important. Chris?
Yes, I just want to touch on. So, can you explain the benefit and why we're going to be going live on? We haven't figured out the certain day. I think it's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at a certain times, and maybe at different times. But the whole idea, why it's important and essential for the podcasters to come on, and we'll start shining a light on and those who are doing well and testimonies, and bringing those on and giving them a different platform to speak on. Can you shine a light on that if you can?
Yeah, so this is something I'm super excited about because there is a double win, pun intended, on this Facebook Live scenario. So once everybody is in the community, we have a little getting started checklist things, videos. There's a really good looking bald guy that's tall, the tall bald guy that is on a bunch of those, and so once you get through that, one of the next steps we're going to do is say, hey, we need you to come on and do a live like this with us, because we want to introduce your show to everybody in our channel and in our sphere of influence. But also we're going to take this audio and start pumping them out as episodes of Winject Radio. So like that is two amazing opportunities for us to shine a light on you, your brand, your platform, and get you plugged in. And then like the whole social media thing that we've got planned, where you just, on Instagram at Winject Studios, and we're sharing all that out through the channel that's growing and growing and growing and growing. And I was talking to somebody that had some really good insight on the whole Facebook Live. I said, being in the first 50 is really advantageous. And she's like, I know, because I want to get my regular live action going before there's 1,000 people, so that all these episodes and all this extra exposure, I'm like, you get it. So get in, get active, get plugged in. That's going to help us. That's going to be beneficial to you. And then as the whole community grows, and it's going to grow fast, just the sky's the limit. The possibilities are of infinite proportion. So any final words, guys, as we close it out?
I thought everyone was like, pause for a second. I was like, we're all talking over each other, and like about 15 minutes ago. I don't really have anything else to add. I think you said it, beautifully, Adam, and everybody here is here about that one mission, one outcome, right? That's what we're all about. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to make sure we're getting cadence. We have to get in cadence, and that's the reason why we only brought on 50 shows starting off. We could have opened up our Rolodex between all of us together, easily put in 50, 500 shows, but it's too many moving parts to kind of figure out, okay, what needs to work and why is this not working? What does this need to move? And you mentioned Adam having how many holes in his freaking rowboat, right? Or whatever boat, right? That's a lot of holes, man. There's a lot of moving parts. So the first 50 podcasters and shows were hand selected by all four of us to make sure that we're bringing in there. We have relationships with them. So we need to make some proper adjustments to move forward. We can do so. That's why it's important. We're projecting, and Adam is correct. I have crazy ideas, but these ideas, every idea I've ever had and had this much passion and conviction behind, I've always won. There's a method behind my madness. What do you do today? Win. What are you doing tomorrow? Win. Because there's never win or lose. There's win or learn. I'm an extremely aggressive entrepreneur, but I've had an extreme amount of success over time. And that's because I'm playing an infinite game called business, not a finite game. I'm not trying to sign shows or get a Rockefeller ribbon or whatever the hell they do. No. Are you about it? We know for sure. Are you about the mission? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to change lives, or you want to go home and talk to your wall? Because we're here to change lives. I'll see you tomorrow. And that's how it's done. So I hope this helps. Justin, because you know me, I'll get on a soapbox and start talking shit.
Well, I love that. I love that you started by saying, I don't really have anything else to say. And then you dropped some brilliance. So just like what you all are seeing, we don't contain Chris. We don't contain any one of the four of us. We're not going to contain you. The reality of it is messages need to be heard. Your voice needs to be heard. And that's what we're all about. We're about plugging you in. And again, collective impact. We can do more together. We are targeting to have 1,000 shows on the platform by the end of the year. I have zero doubt that's going to happen. And as a result of that happening, collective impact will happen. We're going to change people's lives. So we're here to help you. and hopefully you want to jump into the journey.
Yeah, same. I mean, I love all you guys. I'm excited about this. I haven't been this excited about anything in quite some time, in a couple of years. And I really think that this is going to change the game for podcasting. And people have two options. You either want to be a part of it or you don't. And I'm okay with either. Because if you want to be a part of it, you're going to benefit massively. And if you don't want to be a part of it, I guarantee you after we hit the first 1,000, you're going to be like, wait, how do I become a part of it? And honestly, if you're thinking, how does this benefit me? How does this actually grow my show? Like when you look at certain television networks, take this for an example so you guys understand this a little bit, ABC or NBC or whatever, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air does so well. I don't know why I'm referencing things from the 90s, but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air does so well. All the shows around it do better because of it. And that's what we're doing for you on a massive scale. And I'm excited about it. And honestly, like, how are you not excited to do something with these three guys? And so excited for everything. And hopefully we'll see you guys in the network.
Yeah. I haven't been this excited since they brought like non-dial-up internet to Indiana. Like I could like, Mom, it's okay. You can be on the phone.
Last year.
Yeah. Like this was like the year 2015.
I'm still operating off dial-up right now, apparently.
I thought you're still riding cows and shit over there. I didn't even know. Like, I'm from Indiana. Stop with a question. I think when you came on the show, we went nuts for a little while. Yeah. And we were asking a lot of questions. I'm like, I think he goes, hold on, say that again. I'm from Indiana. I love it. Guys. My team actually asked me, "Is like, do we edit this?" I'm like, "Nah, let it ride. It's good."
Yeah, it's all good. It is all good. So, friends, if you are in the community, make sure that you're plugged in. We've got a getting started video series. Plug into that. Get in the Slack channel. It's broken down step by step by step. If you're in there watching videos, there's a comment box below. You can drop a comment or a question in there. You can fire away in the Slack channel. Like, we want to hear from you. That's a big part of what we're doing right now, especially your feedback is just gold to us. We've already made a few little tweaks and that are huge improvements because of what you need, the way you need us to develop the information. So that's very, very important. If you aren't in the community yet, let's give it to them. Winject.com. That's where you need to go. Winject.com. And check out what we got to do. There's a great intro. Brian Bogert did all the beats on that. He's got the beatbox, and it's special. So no, we're excited to have you guys. I think that a month from now, 2 months from now, 90 days from now, we're going to look back at this and go, we didn't even realize what we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So we got to archive this one and come back and see how much we've blown up over the 60 to 90 days.
You've got the website, but also if you're watching this and you know podcasters who need to be a part of the community, again, there is now and will always be free options. Tag them in the link below, send a comment, shoot Winject a direct message, so that we can start taking catalog for this phase 2. We've already got a wait list adding up as we talk today. But if there's people who you think need to be a part of this, who can have a better plug, please comment below.
He's like, tell everyone. Tell everyone. If you have a cat, tell your cat. If you have a dog, tell your dog. If you have your mom, tell your mom, and she has a podcast. So basically, tell everybody. Share this video to everybody you can. Yes, that was a ludicrous reference. It's like tell everybody. Even the
ludicrous. Play the commercial. Spin the commercial.
Hit the commercial. Peace out, guys.
This podcast is part of the Winject Studios network, where podcast.
Did we come back live?
We're live.
This podcast is part of the Winject Studios network, where podcasters come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how to apply to join the network, go to www.winject.com. That's WINJECT.com.